Grade 9 Pride and Prejudice Amazing Analysis and Essay Plans, Episode 4 Fitzwilliam Darcy. Hey everyone, over the last couple of weeks I've been writing up some unique essay plans for you, so I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed if you like this free resource. So, in this video I created a grade 9 essay point with numerous high-level language devices that you can feel free to steal. So, Darcy's sense of superiority in initially being a proud and aristocratic gentleman is often seen through making derogatory remarks about those he considers beneath them, such as the Bennet family. He calls them vulgar and ill-bred, so that's a really useful quote, because from this it's clear that Darcy is torn between his pride and self-worth and feelings for Elizabeth, being from a low social standing. So what he's doing is he's describing Elizabeth's family, the Bennet family, as vulgar and ill-bred, but he also likewise describes his attraction to Elizabeth. So there's this conflict between his pride and his feelings for Elizabeth. Now Darcy being torn between his pride and self-worth can also be seen through his first proposal. To summarise his conflicting feelings for Elizabeth, his sense of her inferiority, of it being a degradation, of the family obstacles which judgment had always opposed to inclination. So what it's saying here is that his sense of her being lower than him, of it being degrading, of the family obstacles. So you can see the anaphora, the repetition of the, and it just creates this successive implicit criticisms of the woman he somehow professes to love. And it's almost saying overwhelming reasons against marrying her, as well as blunt manifestations of his own pride, which just limits the chance that Elizabeth is actually going to accept this proposal. Now, furthermore, looking at this quote, there's a lot of use of the dashes, and it could highlight how the decision is irrational, because we've seen before in Pride and Prejudice how dashes are used in dialogue to highlight how the person speaking is in an irrational frame of mind. And it's also conflicting and fracturing. Now, his initial hostile and dismissive attitude towards Elizabeth and her family softens as he becomes more empathetic. So, as Pride and Prejudice goes on, he becomes much more empathetic and even goes to the extent to rescue Lydia from the scandal and disgrace by paying for her wedding when he has no reason to. He is not related to anyone of the family. And this just illustrates the massive character development in the character of Darcy, the massive growth, and also how these words are only momentary. They definitely do not last till the end of the novel. Another quote that's useful to look at is when he first meets Elizabeth in chapter 1 or 2, where he says, "She is tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me, and I am in no humour at present to give consequence to young ladies who are slighted by other young men." Now, here the language drips with extremely hurtful, aloof scorn. The word tolerable objectifies Elizabeth, suggesting that her appearance is certainly not good enough for him. And the implication that he must be tempted acts to suggest that he has a smug view of his own value and worth, and he believes it's much higher than anybody else. Now, the next point is that Darcy is a tender and caring character, and this is shown through him saving his sister and Lydia's reputation through preventing the elopement. And as he falls in love with Elizabeth, he becomes more emotionally open, exposing his weaknesses, and he becomes very vulnerable. Now, this vulnerability humanizes Darcy, and it makes it easier for the reader to remove all of that prejudice from him when he was really prideful and rude. And this makes him more of a sympathetic character. Here are some quotes to support that. So he says towards the end, I've been selfish being all my life, in practice, though not in principle." And this was during his second proposal. And he also says to Elizabeth, "My behaviour to you at that time had merited the severest reproof. It was unpardonable, and I cannot think of it without abhorrence." Now, the superlative severest and the subsequent simple sentences, which show the extent to which Darcy himself has condemned following Elizabeth's enlightenments. Now, abhorrence is a stronger word than hatred, and it incorporates an element of how he loathes how he had acted previously and his own attitudes, and this reveals some really raw vulnerability and change in maturity. So thank you for watching this video. If you did find it helpful, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck with your exams and see you soon.